Are the rules of how the mind works. We're going to look at three principles now of mastering the mind. And the first one is it's called the analysis principle, and that is I can discover the contents of my mind. I can discover the contents of my mind. We're going to play with that right now. And it's not going to be in theory. It's not going to be general principles. It's going to be about your life. And something that you would like to shift in your life. It's something that you've been thinking about for quite a while. I would like to change, but it hasn't changed. Why not? I aver to say that there's some good reasons it hasn't changed. If it hasn't changed, if it's hung around as miserable as it is, or as much as you say I don't want it, it's still there. There's a reason for it. Not a neurotic reason, like I'm a bad person and God is punishing me. That's neurotic. We're not buying any of that stuff. There's a reason that I made up. There's something that I bought that's a limiting belief about myself, and it's going into the mix and preventing me from actually making the change that I want to make. You willing to play?
Sure.
Okay. So the analysis principle is I can discover the contents of my mind. And this is where I'm asking everyone to get out that little handout number 1, which is called the analysis principle and analysis game. And we will go through that together. Decided to play this game myself last night. And so rather than, again, just talking in theory, I'm going to share with you my answers to this game. And it starts out, number 1, you're going to choose an area of your life that you would like change. And I'm going to put it in this format. What I have is, you might say, not enough money to pay the rent. What I want is enough money to easily pay the rent every month. Yeah, something like that. Keep it real simple. And you don't have to choose the hardest thing in your life or traumatic events or anything. Let's keep this real. Something you actually want, something that actually got some juice on for you, but it doesn't have to be something that you're going to go into an emotional tailspin over. When you get good at this game, you'll up the ante. And you'll have comrades here in the class that you can play it with anything in your life, okay? But just for the purpose of our learning it right now, you're going to pick something, and I want you to write it down right now. Do not wait until the end and then start thinking about it. Write it down. We're going through this step by step right now. Let's see. Step number 1, what I have is presumably something you don't want, something I want to change, and that what I want is something I'd rather have instead. Write it down. And we're going to zip right along here. So one of the things that the mind that it has is it tries to make everything hard. You know, oh, is this the right thing? No, don't make it overly complicated. All right, now the second step in this game is something that you need when you go to the theater. Say you go to see a play at the theater, and there on the stage, they say, is a tree, and the hero is going to climb the tree to pick the golden apple. Well, you don't stand up and say, hey, that ain't a real tree. That's a tinfoil apple in there. No, you're suspending your disbelief for a moment. It's called a willing suspension of disbelief. And this is what we humans can do. And what I'm asking you to do right now, and I'm not asking you even to like it. I'm just asking you for the purpose of this game, see if you can stick with me here, to believe that the thing that you wrote down first, the thing that you just said you didn't want, just for a moment now, for the purpose of this game, believe that some part of you wants that. That there's a part of you that wants that thing. And there's a good reason that you want it. It's not because of your lack of intelligence or your moral fiber or your karma, any of that stuff. You're going to imagine that for some reason you want that, and we're going to find out what those reasons are. Because right now, in this mindset of imagining that you want, I want you to write down 3 good reasons for having that. I'll give you an example here because this may sound pretty far out at the moment. Okay. So when I was thinking about coming to the class yesterday, and I was feeling a little nervous. How is this going to work? Is Mike going to be able to keep up with all these breakout rooms and all this stuff? I know that the stuff, the material in this class is good, but is it going to work with everyone on virtual and there was something gnawing. Now it wasn't horrible. I wasn't chewing my fingernails, but there was some anxiety there. So what I wrote down for step 1 is what I have is anxiety. Keep it simple. What I want is no or less anxiety. I'm not going to say no anxiety. We need a little tension in our lives. But okay. So then step 2, I believe for some reason I want anxiety. How could anxiety serve me? So reason number 1, when I say a good reason, not neurotic, a neurotic reason would be, well, I'm just a bad person and I deserve to feel bad. Meh. Sorry, not in the game. All right. So a good reason would be A, my anxiety signals me that I'm carrying some underlying fears, which would be helpful for me to uncover. And so, okay, theoretically, I can understand that. What would that be, Jim? So you got to press yourself on this, not just some theory. So the underlying fear that I was carrying is that I'll not accept myself unless I lead a good seminar tomorrow that everyone appreciates. And everyone says, great job, Jim. Oh, this is the best thing. There's a part of me that says, I don't want people disappointed and like I couldn't follow, or this is stupid, or oh, I know this already. What's new? And so, okay, my anxiety is saying, look at this fear. What is the fear? And I did. I looked at the fear and I had to say, wait a minute, it's not my job to control everyone. Some people may decide that there's something that they didn't like, and it may be what they need to do. So get over it, Jim. Take what comes. Number 2, my anxiety often lets me know I've not been taking care of myself, like diet, exercise, spiritual practice, and can prompt me to reestablish my self-care priorities. And I'm so glad I did this yesterday because it said, for example, get enough sleep before teaching today rather than distract myself with Facebook posts. And so it actually helped me. I got good sleep. So, 3rd good reason for anxiety is that my anxiety points to a limiting belief about myself, which I can address. Okay, what's a limiting belief? I'm not as confident about myself in leading large groups as I am in doing individual therapy. Well, that's true. Individual therapy, I feel pretty confident. I can waltz in and just take whatever comes. Feels good. But large groups, a little bit on edge. Who knows? What Bonnie's going to come up with in the middle of the group. Got to be careful. So with step 3, you come up with 3 good reasons. So go ahead and complete step 3. Now, if you catch yourself writing down reasons not to have what you said you don't want, well, go back. No, this is reasons that you do want to have what you said you don't want. It's very easy. This is bending your mind now. This is really bending your mind. It's going to rebel. It's going to say, no, you didn't hear me. I said I don't want that. To play the game, like most games, practice helps. Yeah. Now, I'm going to grant a dispensation if you are playing this for the first time and you are really having trouble coming up with the third good reason. It's okay to move on because you can go back. And in fact, as part of the homework, I'm recommending that you do go back and play this game again. But for the purposes of our moving forward now we're coming to the pay dirt. Because right now, what use is this? 3 good reasons for why I have what I don't want. We're going to go deeper. And this is where it's going to take you into the innards of your mind. And it can be a challenge. All right, now, for each of those good reasons, there is a limiting belief which makes those reasons valid. Because if you just looked at reason, you could say, I don't like that reason. I'm done with it. And now I'm just going to have what I want. Well, it's not working that way, is it? So you got that reason, but underneath that reason is a limiting belief. That's what we're going for. That's pay dirt. All right. So I'm going to give an example here again because I think example can make it a little more real for you. So my first good reason for anxiety was that my anxiety signals me that I'm carrying some underlying fears, which would be helpful for me to uncover. Okay. So that's supposed to be a good reason for anxiety. Well, I don't believe it. Well, the limiting belief I have is if I do not go through fear, I will not prepare myself well enough to do my best. That has a little more traction for me. and I was looking at Facebook and a post came on last night from this woman who is a teacher of leadership. You talk about synchronicity in the universe, right? She's a teacher of leadership, and she has the rules for giving a great speech or a class. Rule number 1, prepare. Rule number 2, prepare. Rule number 3, prepare. And so here I am thinking about this, and I see this, and I was like, have I really prepared enough? You know? So for breakfast this morning, I didn't read the newspaper or anything. I was looking at my notes here. Serious. So I do have that belief. If I don't have some fear about it, I might just get kind of lazy. I might just kind of schlep through. I've taught this so many times. You know, I know this from my sleep. So now we're going to do something with these limiting beliefs because I'm going to come up with 3 limiting beliefs I have. I genuinely have. But if that's as far as we went, that would be the booby prize. Oh, great. You know, I'm miserable, but now I know why I'm miserable. Big deal. Now, don't worry, we're going to go farther than this. And your mind may be checking out as we go through this. Many people start to feel very sleepy. Many people get hungry. Many people have just got to clean those fingernails. Look at how dirty they are. You know? So it's okay if you're starting to zone out, right? Just see if you're in it. The second good reason for anxiety, that my anxiety often lets me know I've not been taking care of myself. And so that can prompt me to take better care of myself. So the limiting belief that I have is I'm going to feel better about myself, have more confidence because anxiety lit a fire under me. How true is that for me? I mean, my logical mind will say, "Ooh, that's stupid. I don't believe it." But there is a part of my feeling self, a part of my emotional body that says, "You better stay awake, Buster. You better not fall asleep at the switch." And that is what's going to put you in the driver's seat of your life. The second limiting belief was I need my anxiety to keep myself attentive to self-care. So otherwise, I will just get lazy and eat too much, stay up too late. And so I need something rattling my cage in order for self-care. Now, that third good reason for anxiety, my anxiety points to limiting beliefs about myself. If I want to overcome those limiting beliefs, I need something pointing out my faults. I need something that's going to keep me from slumbering into complacency. Go for it. Right now, look for the limiting belief which makes that reason understandable. Write it down right now. Your 3 limiting beliefs. Okay, now we all need help, and I think I've demonstrated that I certainly do. So what we're going to do right now is sometimes if you can explain to another person what you wrote down, it becomes clearer for yourself. Okay, you're going to pair up with someone and you're going to go through your steps. And we're not going to belabor it. You're going to go through your steps. If you have constructive feedback, you will give constructive feedback to your partner. All right. Constructive means, for example, if they slip the gear, and they start writing down the reasons that they want what they want instead of the reasons that they want what they don't want, then you just point it out. Be helpful. So get together with a partner now. Okay. We're getting back together now. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen, because what we're holding right now is a bag of worms. Yeah. What we got right now is a bunch of limiting beliefs. And like I said, that's the booby prize. Like, yeah, well, my life is miserable. Thanks, Jim. Now I know why it's miserable. Still miserable, but what to do about it? I said there were 3 principles that we were working on this afternoon. First one is the analysis principle, which is I can discover the contents of my mind. This is what we were looking at. We're delving into what's the deeper contents, those limiting beliefs, which are the tap root. Because out of that tap root will come all sorts of variations, creative variations on I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to swim. I'm not good enough to have a job that I want. I'm not good enough to have harmony in my relationship. I'm not good. It's like, infinite capacity to elaborate on the theme. So we want to go to that tap root, find what those tap roots are. But what do we do when we find them? And hopefully some of what I wrote down, some of what you wrote down in this is getting closer, if not hitting pay dirt and some tap roots in our life, things that we can get by. I mean, come on, you survived, you're here. You can go on with the rest of your life without sitting in the basement, doing uncomfortable stuff. But there's something prompting us to say, maybe I don't need to carry as much baggage as I thought I did, just because it's comfortable, or I'm familiar with it. It's not comfortable. It's familiar. And often we keep wearing that old shoe over and over, even though it's got holes in it and I'm getting bunions or whatever, just because it's familiar. So, how do you change the contents of your mind? This is the affirmations principle. I can change the contents of my mind.